Welcome back, everybody, to the Freedom to Speakeasy podcast, where there is no prohibition on the First Amendment here. And a lot to get to, and we're going to go right into it. First up, the State of the Union, Mark. I mean, the State of the Union address was more. I don't know what that was. Why don't you explain to us what this
Well,
Uncle Joe was trying to deliver?
we'll have to listen to that. We need a state of emergency. I mean, it's a disaster. It's more about spending more money, more taxpayer money, bigger government. This way they could tell everybody what to do. But I mean to unwrap it, it was really bizarre. Joe Biden came across as that the grumpy old guy who was sitting on his porch there when we were playing football back, when we were kids. Get that football off my lawn. I'll call the police, but he can't call the police because he wants to defund them.
Right,
So,
exactly. Well,
but
he blamed. Was it? It seemed like more of the blame game. Pointing fingers
right,
as usual. The debt seemed like never got touched on. I mean, he incredibly. I don't know how he ended up. How many jobs did he create that he claimed that he created? Where are all these jobs?
well,
14 million, 12 million that he created jobs? I mean, come on.
Well, Joe obviously, he has a problem with the truth. I mean, the whole speech was nothing but lies. I mean, he was blaming the Republicans for wanting to get rid of Social Security. He was lying about the border, fentanyl.
Right.
I mean, he even during the speech, he made a bizarre reference. If the Chuck Schumer Senate bans abortion nationwide, I'm going to veto it. I mean, he was just saying that he was into conversion. I mean, does that mean he'll be transitioning from Joe Biden to Josephine Biden? I mean, there was just he was all over the place.
Well, whether it's him, her, they, them, it doesn't matter. The country is in turmoil right now. And I don't know about you, but that China balloon, whatever you want to call it, all right, is to me treasonous that it wasn't shot down immediately. That's how serious it was. They were over our nuclear sites. I don't know how much more how more serious you have to get. And as I read somewhere that this is the beginning where they can now drop something on these balloons and basically wipe out our national grid, Mark.
Well, according to Joe Biden, it wasn't a major breach. I guess it would have to land on the lawn of the White House for it to
Major
be a major
breach.
That's what he said. It wasn't a major breach. So I don't know what he defines as a major breach. Listen, I mean, no one should be surprised. I mean, even during the State of the Union, he didn't mention, he mentioned very briefly about, about China, but it just the people he surrounded himself with. That's what happens when you don't pick the best candidates for a job.
Right.
When you're more concerned about checking that woke box.
Right.
I mean, it starts with the guy dressed as a woman going around the airport stealing women's clothing. I mean, they couldn't make a decision on shooting down a spy balloon. I mean, that should be concerning to everyone.
Well, I think they made their decision. They didn't want to shoot it down, to be
Well,
honest with
listen.
you.
Well, maybe it had Hunter Biden's payoff in
Yeah.
that balloon. Was going to drop it off to him. I mean, maybe Fang Fang was saying hello to Eric Swalwell. I mean, who knows?
Who knows what's going on there? And Joe Biden's connections to China, it really makes you think. I mean, the American people think about it just using logic and common sense. I mean, the balloon is from China, which is our enemy. Okay, they are our enemy. They're building islands off the East and West China Sea. They're manning the militarizing parts of the moon. That's in a very near future. Okay, they are serious business, and they're not doing this to go after France or to go after Ireland. They're going after us. That's their target. So whether we take them seriously or not, they're taking us seriously. I can tell you that much, Mark. And they're not going away.
Well, listen, Japan and Taiwan are taking them seriously.
So, you bet they are.
I mean, they're preparing for maybe a war in the near future.
Absolutely.
Let's hope not. But listen, we need to just follow the money. I mean, the Bidens, they're in bed with the Chinese. The Biden crime family. I mean, Russia. I mean, going on Ukraine. I mean, Hunter Biden was on the board of a gas company in Ukraine, Burisma. I mean, wasn't even qualified.
It's crazy. Listen, listen, Helen Keller could prosecute this.
Well,
this
the last time I checked, being president, national security is your number one priority.
Absolutely.
I mean, and Joe Biden, I mean, he fails at everything. You look at our economy. I mean, it's self-inflicted. The economy is so bad. Now you see Russia's going to stop, production, slow down production on oil. So I mean, look for gas prices to go up to spike in the near future. So and it's all self-inflicted. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's about Biden. Biden's basically been overrun by these woke people within D.C.
Right.
and it's affecting the quality of life of American citizens. I mean, Joe Biden puts illegal immigrants ahead of Americans. Listen, open borders. He doesn't defend our airspace. There it is, right there.
Right.
He's more concerned about people he wasn't elected to represent
Right.
than the people he
Right.
actually was. So
Absolutely.
that should tell you all you need to know.
And who end up in your backyard. They're not going to they're not going where Joe Biden lives. Let's put it that way. They're not going to be in Rehoboth Beach. Okay. Right. So they're coming to our schools. All right. Into our background. We don't know who these people are. Okay. We don't know if they're vaccinated or not. We don't know any of those things.
Well, that's another thing. Rehoboth Beach. You and I had this conversation before. Yep. How the hell does he have all these mansions?
How does he afford it?
Right, on a senator's salary, now a president's salary. Where's he getting all the cash flow?
Hey, and then he doesn't shoot down the China balloon immediately. It makes you wonder. We have more questions to ask.
Yeah, he has all these top secret documents in his garage, at the college, and who knows where else.
Well, Mark, that it brings us to the idea of reporting on this stuff. Okay, and we know the media is not there anymore. And we've both been subject to propaganda, if you would, but not on the level of the national scene. All right, I don't know if you had a chance to witness this, but the Twitter Congress was interviewing the members of Twitter, called the Twitter Files, and it's funny. Not one single Democrat cared to ask a serious question regarding blocking or surmising the any Republican or conservative that had any type of views. They basically were, what were they? What do you call that? They were they were targeted. They were targeted. They basically canceled them out in a sense. How Twitter works with their algorithm.
Well,
I don't know what that's called, but
I've been reviewing the tapes from the Twitter hearings, and it's very clear the only collusion that was going on was between the FBI, the government, and Twitter. So there was shadow banning.
Yeah, shadow banning. That's the word. Yeah,
right?
Yes, that's the word.
They flat out banned Republican members of Congress
Unbelievable.
from Twitter. But so all those people out there who said there was no interference, well, the reality was that the FBI and Twitter did interfere in the
absolutely they did. And
it's a fact.
And then one of the congressmen, give him credit. I don't know his name, but he did a fabulous job. And putting these, basically made them eat their own words. They lied. They completely lied to the sitting members of Congress.
Well, another one, Congressman Donalds, I believe his name is. He had put up a poster board of a tweet, and prior to that, the former Twitter employee basically denied knowledge of it. But then he also when he saw it, he goes, "Oh yeah, I remember the content of that." So you he got caught up there. It was a great cross-examination by the congressman.
There was an email that was involved that they don't remember writing the email, but he remembered something else. It was such a joke.
It's so bad over Twitter. They had this practice of hiring former FBI agents where they created their own little I guess their little room within Twitter where they could speak on and tweet to each other. But it's just the fact that the freedom of speech was violated because the government instructed them to ban people.
Well, that's the problem.
That's the violation right there. Listen, they can, the Democrats on that committee were crying that they're a private company. Yeah, I understand that. But when the government's instructing them to interfere in free speech, now it's a whole different game.
Well, when you had Joe Biden's campaign sending them information and to look into this stuff, stuff that was anything negative towards the Democrat and the Joe Biden campaign, they would send emails to executives into Twitter to basically look into, quote unquote, to start the shadow ban process. So it is your First Amendment rights on Twitter. It goes on all over the place, even Facebook, where they all have them. All right, where not all views are treated under the First Amendment.
The FBI did pay Facebook a visit and said, "Oh, you can expect an upcoming dump of information from Russia, from the Russians."
Yes.
That was just their way of getting control of the Hunter Biden story. Let's face it, Hunter Biden's a criminal.
He is a criminal.
He's a junkie and an international bagman. Okay, for the Biden crime family. That's a fact.
And he's vulnerable
Okay.
because
Of course, you don't know.
the father is the president of the United States, Mark, and that's the problem.
Hunter Biden's been seen driving that car where the all the top secret information
Right,
was stored at. So who knows what they have been involved in.
Right.
I mean, clearly they don't put the nation, before their
No.
financial gains. So
when you get when you have 3 mansions all over Delaware and one right on the beach in Rehoboth, it makes you wonder who's paying them off. And I mean, follow the money. I mean, it's really not that hard.
Well, listen, that's investigation 101. Just follow the money, and it will lead you everywhere. But listen, the evidence they have on Hunter now, they can easily indict him.
Right.
So that tells you all you need to know.
Right. I don't know what they're waiting for.
I mean, I've seen people indicted on less.
Recently, in recent times, there's been people indicted for basically nothing.
Former President Trump, he was impeached for a phone call.
Right.
It's just the double standard is incredible.
Well, you compare Trump to Hillary. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, with a cloth? With a cloth?
Well, as this investigation is going to move forward.
Like with a cloth.
Right? You could almost say that the Bidens are worse than the Clintons.
Oh, my God. Oh, they are. They're on a different level. They're on a different level.
Now that everything's really starting to, get brought out into the light,
well,
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Hillary looks like Pope John Paul II here, and I say that facetiously, but she compared to what the Biden family is doing, the Biden crime family, it is atrocious. Yeah. So, but these members of Congress, good for them. Shout out to them because they did a tremendous job of basically exposing what Twitter was all about. So, but we're going to wrap it up here, but we got the segment called The Last Call, where Mark and I get 1 minute apiece to speak about really anything on our mind. And Mark, what say you now?
Yeah, I want to call out Republican Senator John Bramnick, who once again, he seemed to be offended by the fact that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene called Joe Biden a liar during the State of the Union speech the other night. And obviously he wasn't watching the same speech the rest of us were because Joe Biden was lying. But as usual, John, he's known throughout Union County as Bram Snake, lived up to his reputation. I mean, he claims to be the funniest man in politics. He's a comedian. Well, the joke's on the voters who actually support him because John Bramnick's he's no Republican. If he doesn't have his Phil Murphy pom-poms out, now he's trying to attack Republicans who in Congress who are actually trying to stand up to the woke representatives in government. And like I said before, and I'll keep saying it again, we don't elect activists. We elect representatives. If you want to be an activist, go do that in your own time. Okay? So Joe Biden and the rest of them, who are wearing, abortion pins and everything. So people have a right to respond. And if John Bramnick has a problem with that, here's what I say to him. Where the hell were you during the lockdowns? Kids being kept from school, the mandates, the mask mandates, the vaccine mandates. You have sat back and done nothing. Here's what you do. You invite Phil Murphy over to your house to have barbecues in your backyard while the rest of us are out here trying to stand up for and do the right thing. He's a worthless representative in Trenton, and people need not vote for him. And as usual, here's what he's going to do. He's up for re-election again. He's going to go to all the 2A people and say how he supports people's right to have a gun. And he always goes the other way.
Right.
Okay? John Bramnick is a fraud, and he does not deserve Republican support.
Very interesting. Thank you, Mark, for that. And I think you're 100% right. And I just want to touch on the State of the Union again. Go back there really quick, and just on the numbers. Nobody watched the State of the Union. The numbers were atrocious. Nobody watched it. People are not stupid. They look at their own pocketbook as they usually do in this time of the year. And they know when they're being sold a bag of bullshit. Okay? That's it. They know that. And the numbers show it. And if you compare it to the last administration, the numbers they're in the water. They're in the mud. Okay? And that basically should tell you enough about where the people are. Where the majority of the people are. They're struggling out there. They're tired of paying what they're paying for a dozen of eggs. Okay? They don't need Joe Biden to take a victory lap, on lowering the gas price, while he was the one under his administration caused the rise of the gas prices. Okay, so gas prices are on the rise. They go on the rise in June. They hit its peak last June, and then they slowly decline. But their decline is still over. I think the national average is about 4 something a gallon. I mean, what is that to write home about? He caused the problem himself. Then he spikes the football as if the numbers come down a little bit. He's schizophrenic in that way, but the numbers prove it. The American people could care less about Joe Biden and this administration. I think they know they're being sold a bag of crap, and hopefully that reflects in the next election. But you could tell a lot by these numbers, and we need to make sure that we remember these moments when it comes to that first Tuesday in June. And that's really all we have for
today.
And
remember, make sure you vote. Vote by mail, vote early,
Always
vote often.
Yes.
Overwhelm the fraud.
You got it. Absolutely. You got to fight fire with fire here. So, folks, until next time, we will see you here on the Freedom to Speak Easy podcast. And remember, there is no prohibition on the First Amendment here. See you guys all soon.
Swing out, jive in. Come on, honey, show me how you move it. Swing out, jive in. 1, 2, 3 to the groove. Come and dance with me. Swing out, jive in. The party don't stop.